This is the Morning Swim Show for Thursday, July 7th, 2011. I'm your host, Peter Bush. In the Phoenix Monitor today, we'll talk to Mallory Weggemann. She is arguably the best disabled swimmer on the planet. She won 8 golds, 1 silver, set 9 world records at the International Paralympic Committee World Championships in 2010. Now she is nominated for an ESPY here in the U.S. Mallory joins us right now in the Phoenix Monitor from Eagan, Minnesota. Hey Mallory, welcome to the Morning Swim Show. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. Where is Eagan, Minnesota?
Eagan, Minnesota is about 20 minutes outside of St. Paul, so I'm in the Twin Cities metro area.
Very cool. Well, congratulations on being nominated for the ESPY. Again, just to remind people, ESPY is ESPN's annual awards. So you are nominated in the Best Disabled Female category, correct?
Yeah.
And you're nominated in the same category as our guest from yesterday, Melissa Stockwell. So we're going to have a couple of good stories that people can choose from who they want to vote for. Tell us about your story and how you became disabled.
Well, back on January 21st of 2008, I went in to have an epidural injection to treat back pain, and I never walked out. Complications from the procedure left me paralyzed, and I left the hospital 5 weeks later in a wheelchair, and my life has been changed ever since that day. I got back in the water the first time, April 8th of 2008, so not very long after my accident, and I have continued swimming since then.
That is so terrible what happened to you. I mean, we talked to Melissa yesterday. I mean, she was a soldier in Iraq, and a roadside bomb took her leg. I mean, there's different awful tragedies that can happen to put you there, but this was really just a medical mistake, it sounds like.
Yeah, it was definitely wasn't supposed to happen the way it did.
Well, how do you mentally overcome that?
For me, the big thing is I got back in the water, like I said, April 8th of 2008, and I've been a lifelong swimmer. I've swam since I was 7 years old, and this happened to me when I was 18. So for me, swimming was just as second nature as walking. And after this happened, I was pretty upset for a little while, but, I found my way back to the water, and that's really what helped me move forward with my life, the swimming and just getting back into something that I once loved for so long and was a huge part of my life. And from that day forward, everything's really changed and changed for the better.
You have such a positive attitude, and Melissa had the same thing. I mean, she said, her quote was, I can do more, I've done more with one leg than I could have ever done with two. And it's so refreshing to see you embrace this awful thing that happened to you, but make the most out of it and get these wonderful experiences.
Yeah, I agree with Melissa on what she said. I've heard her say that before, and it's true. You really, if I were to think back 4 years ago before this happened, how I would have reacted to circumstance like this, I would never in a million years think that this would be how I would turn my life around and this is what I'd be doing. I would assume that the opposite would be happening to me. But, once you get put in that situation, it's life. You have to find a way to deal with it, overcome, and move forward and do what you can do. And I think, Melissa is a great example of that. Everyone on the Paralympic team that with me on our national team is a fantastic example of that. And there's a big group of people out there doing the same thing. And I think that's part of what makes being nominated for this award such an honor, because it's not just me doing it. There's a whole lot of other people out there doing the same thing too.
Some people have compared what you did at the IPC World Championships to what Phelps did. In many meets he's done it, but at the Olympics.
Yeah.
Is there pressure on you now to live up to the hype, so to speak?
I put a lot of pressure on myself, actually. My coach and I think I'm probably the worst one at it. He always tells me, he reminds me, Mal, you got to be patient. You got to just go out there and swim hard, and whatever happens, happens. And I expect a lot from myself. World Championships was a phenomenal meet for me. I don't think it could have gone really any better than it did, but coming home from that, there's obviously areas that I need to work on and areas to build upon come the games in London in 2012, and I have very high goals for the Paralympic Games in 2012.
I was going to say the one thing missing from your resume is to be a quote-unquote Paralympian. I mean, you gotta compete in the big one, I guess.
Yep.
So all eyes focused on that. How do the trials work for the Paralympic Games?
Trials for us will be held at the end of March, and it's a selection based on the number of slots that we get, and usually it's top three in the world. You're pretty much guaranteed to be on if you're ranked in the top three in the world, and then they have some equation then after that. I honestly don't understand how the whole thing works, but they kind of set up an equation and they start with top three and then they kind of go down from there until the spots are filled.
Will you be at the ESPYs?
I will be. I fly out Monday. My boyfriend and I are going, so we're both very excited.
What a cool experience, huh?
Yes.
Well, have fun and best of luck to you. We hope either you or Melissa win.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Well, Mallory, thank you so much for joining us, and I want to remind our viewers, go and vote espn.com/ESPYs. That's espn.com/ESPYS. Vote for one of these two, Melissa Stockwell or Mallory Weggemann. Both have fantastic stories. All right, that is it for today's show. I'm Peter Bush, reminding you to keep your head down at the finish.